Now let's talk about Britney Spears. She's released her autobiography today titled The Woman in Me. In it, the pop princess accuses several of the men in her life of mistreating her and the music industry of exploiting her while turning a blind eye to her suffering. This is after she was released from her conservatorship of more than 13 years, where her father was in charge of every aspect of her life, including her money and even her contraception. Well, joining me right now is showbiz journalist at Beverley Lyons to discuss this new book. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Julia. Hi.
Thanks so much. So shortly, we've only got a very short period of time, I'm afraid. So I've been rallying with a lot of people on the show. It's used up time. How significant is this book? Because look, she's a really famous figure. You know, people in their 60s know who she is, and people in their teens know who she is. How significant a pop figure is it, and how significant is it that she has exposed what's really happened behind the scenes?
Well, I think this is a long-awaited memoir from Britney, and obviously, I mean, her troubles began sort of about 10 years after she sort of began. So, I mean, she had her hit in 1998, Baby One More Time. We're talking 10 years later. Everything sort of got a bit weird. For 2008, the conservatorship started. And in terms of significance, yeah, it's a bit of a cautionary tale, really. You can be the most famous person in the world, and you can still have all these troubles. And as you say, very much mistreated and unable to do lots of things that normally we would expect to be able to do in life.
And it was extraordinary when it was exposed actually by some Britney super fans that she was living under this extraordinary arrangement set by the courts where her father was in control of every aspect of her life, even down to her having contraception device fitted, which meant that she was not able to have another child that she wanted to have with her then boyfriend, and controlling all of her money, her millions. And it took numerous court appearances before that changed. That was, I think, a real wake-up call for a lot of people about how this young woman, clearly troubled, let's not pretend she hasn't gone through lots of issues in her life, mental health issues. She's talked about how she had postnatal depression as well, but also battles with substances as well. But she's been the victim of an awful lot of people in her life who were supposed to be there to look after her.
That's right. 2021 is when the conservatorship ended. But of course, she felt like she was a bit of a robot. She's talked about this in the book. She wasn't able to even order a Starbucks coffee. Other coffees are available, but you know, she wasn't able to even do that without somebody controlling her finances. And she had a terrible ordeal. She's also had to have a termination that we found out about in the book. When she was with Justin Timberlake. She also had to deal with the media backlash when she split up from Justin. And she said, you know, very much she was blonde. She wasn't expected to have an opinion. And yet she's the one who stayed up at night to get that gravelly voice and Baby Hit Me One More Time.
Oh, everyone was making money. Everyone was having a great time. And again, you mentioned the termination. You know, she said she wasn't ready to have a baby. He wasn't ready. They were both very young. But, you know, when they broke up, the allegation was that she'd had an affair because of this Crimea River video with a Britney look-alike in it, whereas in fact she claims he had numerous affairs during their relationship. Look, these were young people, for goodness sake, at the prime of their fame. But it's interesting that she points out in the book, and it's really clear that, you know, she's 41 years old now. She's still been a victim throughout her life. You know, her father, partners, exploited by people who wanted her for money and management. Everyone was still making a buck off her, weren't they?
Absolutely, still making the money, and yet here was she, unable to do what she wanted. And of course, we refer to the famous incident when she shaved off all her hair, and she's now saying, well, of course, this was because, you know, when she was undergoing all this therapy and everything, she had to maintain this image of being the way that everybody else wanted her to be, and this was just simply a bit of rebellion coming out. And at the time, you know, we all said, oh, Britney's crazy, but actually she was kicking back against something that was really oppressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very sad story, isn't it? I have to say, I can't think of anything I want less than my daughter to go into music world, acting world, modelling world, anything like that, because they are so exploitative, and the young women are the ones who are most exploited. But she's pointing a lot of fingers. So I'm wondering whether anyone else is going to be sort of, I suppose, you know, dragged through the press over this.
I imagine that there will be. And, you know, I mean, not everybody, obviously, in the pop industry is like that,
no.
But equally, and I think a lot of things have changed, but equally it does show you the bigger you get, the more money people are making from you, the more you have to follow these rules. And absolutely, I mean, I think even Jonathan Ross has been alluded to for not asking the proper questions about her conservatorship. I think it was
Yeah,
Wasn't
but again, I
named.
mean, who knew all the details? We'll have to leave it there. But Beverley Lyons, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. A quick word from Candice Holsworth. Look, I mean, there but for the grace of God, fame is a terrible thing.
Yes, yeah, and I think our understanding of this issue has become a lot more sophisticated, especially how we treat people with mental illnesses. They don't need to be deprived of all their freedom, and all her freedom was taken away.
I think it was so extraordinary to most people when that emerged. I think that's one of the key things we're going to be learning more about. Candice Holsworth, pleasure to have your company. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.